welcome to the Lengthy Yarn podcast. I am your host, Frank, also known as Knitting Guru 1, and this is episode 2. Would be episode 3, but I recorded last week, and I was such a rambling, raving mess that I didn't want y'all to see that, so I never uploaded it. So this is technically episode 2. I have not decided what the title will be, but we will see. This is April 22nd, 2014, 2 days after Easter Sunday, so a Tuesday. The segments that will be on the show today is UFOs, off the needles, spinning, and all that jazz. So I'm going to jump right into UFOs. What I'm knitting right now, I cast it on a few days ago, but, I twisted it when I was casting on, so I had to rip it out. I'm knitting the Aries Slouched Beanie, which is a pattern of my own design, not yet released, but hopefully it will be soon. Still have to get it test knit, and I still have to figure out the pattern before I can get it test knit. But it will be the second one that I've done. Actually, no, technically the third. Yes, my friends. This is the third hat that I've done. Out of this pattern. It's the fourth pattern that I've knit total with the skills of knitting. And I'm working it out of Malabrigo worsted yarn in the colorway Oceanos, which I thought was fitting because Oceanos is like Latin, I think. I don't know. I could just be blowing smoke, but I think it is Latin. And Aries, even though Aries I think is Greek, still the same region. So my logic isn't super sound, but who's gonna stop me? So aside from that, I just started. I'm knitting it on size 4, US 4s, which are some sort of metric. I don't know what the metric needles are. I don't know what the metric size is, but here, hold on one second. Going to 10 millimeter compared to this. I don't know. I'll figure it out and post it in the show notes. But yes. So I'm knitting that, and that's what I'm working on currently as I speak to you. And other than that, technically it's like kind of in the purgatory between unfinished objects and finished objects. It is the first Jupiter's Tears sock, which is also of my own design. It was knit out of Malabrigo worsted yarn in the Autumn Forest colorway. Pattern of my own design has not been released yet, hopefully soon. I think that you can see 2 recurring themes, unreleased patterns and Malabrigo worsted yarn. I'm using a Afterthought heel sock based off of Laura Linneman's pattern of the Knit Girls, her Afterthought heel sock pattern. So that uses waste yarn rather than like the true Afterthought heel method, which apparently you just cut into a stitch and unravel some. I have no idea how that works, but I hope to find out sometime. And so I finished the toe in between the last time that we spoke, I think. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, I did. I finished the toe since we spoke in the first episode that's on the website right now, and I finished the foot, grafted the toe, so now all I have to do is pick up the stitches for the heel and knit the heel, and then knit the second sock. And I can't wait to do that. I really need to get on that. I've one project that holds, or should be holding my attention completely, is to finish a baby sweater, which I will talk about later. So, sorry if I'm talking a little bit fast. I feel like I'm talking super fast, but, yeah. So, that's the end of the UFO section. And now on to Off the Needles. So, I have another kind of purgatory project that's in between UFO and finished object, and that is the Knitting Pure and Simple's baby pullover that I was knitting. I'm pretty sure that you heard about that last episode, but if you didn't, it's knit out of marble chunky yarn in a numbered colorway, but it's greens and blues and it's a variegated, and that is a worsted weight acrylic yarn. It's one of the few acrylic yarns that I'll work with. I'm knitting that on, going in between size 9 circulars. No. Going in between size 6 circulars and size 8 double points. And for that, I finished all the technical knitting, so it is technically off the needles, but I have not woven in any ends yet. So I still need to do that. I'm going to do that tonight so I can ship it to my teacher, who it is for. She's having a baby, and the baby's due supposedly May 1st. So I'm right on the edge of the knife there. So I'm gonna try to weave in all those by tonight. I mean, there's only like 6 total that I have to weave in. Make sure that they're secure, and since it's acrylic, she'll be able to machine wash it and not have to worry about some wool thing that she has to wash special ways. Excuse me. And so that's technically not an absolute finished object, but that's why the segment is technically called Off the Needles, because it is not on any needles right now. And it won't be ever again, so I'm considering it a finished object. Next thing, third unpublished pattern of my own design, I knit something that I just kind of made up on the spot, and because of that, I call it the Nothingness Cowl. And what I did, I'll give you a brief description. I'm not going to talk about it very much, but I knit it, don't have my words, I knit it without joining it, that's what I'm trying to say. I did not join it in the round, and that's actually because, sorry, ow, just got a very sharp pain on my side. That is because I was intending it to be a shawl, and then I found out the recipient likes cowls more than shawls, so I just said, hey, we'll just seam up the 2 edges together and make it into a cowl. So that's what I did. The lady who owns the yarn shop here in Sandy, she told me and kind of showed me how to do an invisible seam, so that would look like it was just another set of knit stitches. I did it kind of good, but some of the time I got like the heavier seam that stuck out. But all the areas that were like that were on the inside, so that was good. I knit it out of I think the brand was Brinette. It was a cone of cotton yarn, just like, it was the first cone I've ever bought, and it was, I think it was like 1,400 yards, something like that. So I knit that out of it on size 9, 32-inch circulars, and it was very fun. So I'm going to definitely be publishing that soon, hopefully. I have a lot of patterns I need to get test knit so I can post them up on Ravelry, and now that Etsy, I think, is allowing digital things, I can sell patterns on Etsy too. So, sorry if you can hear my dog barking outside. That is it for Off the Needles. So, I will see you back here for spinning. Hello, and welcome back. Good heavens, excuse me. Now comes the short segment on spinning. I have a work in progress in the spinning section of my crafting life. And sorry, I'm out of breath because I just ran up and down the stairs to see what my dogs were doing. My work in progress is a Malabrigo Noob fiber, which is a merino, and it is in the colorway Persia, and it came in a braided fiber that I got my LYS, and I have been... So, funny quick little side story. I didn't get a huge amount of guidance when I stepped into the world of spinning, but turns out I instinctively learned how to long draw and also how to woolen spin, apparently, but I kind of do it slightly different, and I go between doing long draw and short draw and woolen and worsted spinning. Very confusing. I just pretty much do whatever. I don't really do much with ratios. I've only ever spun on one ratio so far. I'm going to try to venture in to that world at some point in the near future. But, so I've been spinning it by getting a small length of fiber, probably a foot or so, and splitting it up into probably eighths. Yeah, probably about eighths. And then folding it and spinning what I would, based on my knowledge, I would call it spinning from the fold, but I have no idea. Please feel free to correct me on exactly that, but I fold it and put the center where I folded it over my index finger and get a little bit of the fiber out of it, so when I spin it, it's like it's spinning from both sides of that folded fiber. It's really hard to explain. I think I'm spinning from the fold, but anyway, it makes it easier because the fiber is top, so it's all the fibers are going in one direction, and makes it very hard to draft, even with very thin strips. So I've been doing that. I need to finish it up. I'm going to try to learn how to Navajo ply soon because I really want to do that, especially for this fiber because it has color repeats, which I haven't necessarily been following, but I would like to keep the color repeats as much as possible, and Navajo plying does that. And it also makes 3-ply, which I love doing 3-ply out of other stuff that I've spun. I love doing the 3-ply and how squishy it is, and especially with the Navajo ply, because from seeing Laura Linneman's Navajo plying on the knit girls, it looks super squishy and airy and makes really good like bulky weight or worsted weight and stuff like that. So depending on when I get that finished, I might be learning how to Navajo ply with that, or this is a segue into a finished object-ish thing for spinning. I might be learning how to Navajo ply on it. Sorry. I might be learning how to Navajo ply on that. And that is some bluish merino roving from Lisa Hayes, who is a local dyer and grower, I believe, in the local area. And she makes really good fiber. She does everything from merino to bamboo and silk and stuff like that. So she has a wide array of fiber that's available mostly at the local yarn shop in Sandy, Designer Yarn, but I believe that she sells in other areas too. And other yarn shops, that is. And I'm spinning it from, I would say that the singles are coming out, they're coming out a little bit inconsistent. Even one part I even just I was tired and I was having a lot of trouble drafting and getting good consistency in my single on the fiber, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to spin a little bit of thick and thin for a little while. So in the middle of my spinning, there's sections where it's thick and thin. There's little clumps of fiber that wasn't super well spun, which will be interesting to come back to when I apply it. That's the thing that makes it a finished object-ish, because I haven't applied it yet. It's on a bobbin, and I freed up one of my bobbins. I had kind of tried spinning a little bit of this not super high quality fiber. I'd only spun maybe 50 yards at the most, and so I just rolled that off of the bobbin into a ball. I'll just keep it as a scrap of hand spun, so that I could have a free bobbin to Navajo ply on it. So I'm probably going to learn how to Navajo ply on the blue stuff because it's all pretty much the same color consistency, so that way I can learn how to Navajo ply and then save my Malabrigo noob for when I'm more experienced at the Navajo plying. That way I don't screw it up somehow on my first try. Because I really love the Malabrigo noob colors, and yeah, I don't want to mess that up. So, longer segment than I thought on that, but oh well. I will see you back in the segment All That Jazz, which I will be recording. I'm going to go down to eat dinner, and then I'll come back up later because it's going to be a long segment. Alright, see you back here in just a second. Hi, and welcome back. This is the last segment of the show, and it is All That Jazz. There's quite a few things that I'm going to be talking about, and I'll start off with what I am reading. So per the recommendation from Laura Linneman of the Knit Girls of the Wednesday Wars, which is a book by Gary D. Schmidt, I started reading it. It is a coming-of-age novel, which I didn't really know what it was about until just recently. It's about a boy who, a little bit of backstory is he's a Presbyterian in this town, and he's the only Presbyterian in his grade, and so everyone else is either Jewish or Catholic. So on Wednesdays, all the Catholics and Jews either go to temple or to Mass, but he doesn't have a Wednesday religious event, so he's left sitting there with his teacher, Mrs. Baker, as it were. And so it's all about how he kind of thinks that she hates his guts, but then he realizes that she is nice and not an evil mastermind, and they start to read Shakespeare together. So it's very interesting because I love Shakespeare. I want to go to school to become a literature teacher, so I love Shakespeare. And then also, it's the very first coming-of-age novel I've ever read, and I love it because there's so much relatable humor about parents and whatnot, things your parents do, things they say when you tell them about situations in your life, people hating your guts. They'll say, oh, they don't hate your guts or anything like that, and so it's a relatable book, whether you're just out of junior high or you're much older now, and it kind of, I would think, even though I'm a freshman in high school, I would think that for older readers, it would give them kind of like a glimpse back into their past, to not only see just the generic, like, junior high memories, but also memories if you grew up during the Cold War and the Vietnam War in the 60s, and in the Civil Rights Movement and the hippie movement. So it's a really interesting backdrop for that, and it just deals with lots of problems that most kids face, and stuff like that, and all filled up with Shakespeare, which I love. So, great book. I'm like probably a third of the way into it, and I just started reading it on like Sunday-ish time. So I'm advancing through that quickly, and then also I'm reading Divergent, the first book in the Divergent series, and I haven't been reading that as much as the Wednesday Wars because, did I ever say the title of that book? I don't think I did. Anyway, that book about the kid, it's called The Wednesday Wars by Gary D. Schmidt, but anyway, I haven't been reading Divergent as much as I have been reading that book, but I hope to finish them all, or both of them, soon. Hopefully by the end of this, well, I hope to finish Wednesday Wars by the end of this week, and Divergent maybe by the end of a few weeks, because I don't know why, but I don't think I'm going to get through it for a while. So, some sad news. Today I was spinning, and well, I'll just say plainly, at first, part of my wheel broke. So I have a Merlin Tree Roadbug spinning wheel, and when I was spinning on it, the leather strap of the footman arm that connects the built-in treadle to the drive wheel snapped in two. The leather part did. So I was completely shocked at that. I was wondering, because some people say that they oil theirs, and I was thinking I should oil it, but the pamphlet that comes with the wheel was kind of unclear on what was like required oiling, and what was like if you want to, you can, just to be safe. So I was curious if it was just because I didn't oil that, or if it could be like from the climate of Oregon that might have like done something to the leather, because it was like I felt it and it was super brittle. So I immediately oiled the second treadle's footman leather to soften that so it wouldn't snap like the other one possibly. And so I emailed the Merlin Tree company and to see how I could get it repaired if I had to send it in, which hopefully I don't need to. Hopefully they can just send me another footman arm that I can attach onto the wheel to make it better, but that sucks. But I'm sure that I made a post on Facebook in a fiber arts group, and everyone who had the wheels said that the man who runs the company is very good at getting back to people and also restoring the wheels and repairing them. So, hoping that goes well. In the meantime, it's possible for me to still spin since it's a double treadle. I can just spin it single and just have more of like the heel toe action than what would be needed if I was spinning with both treadles. But anyway, I don't think I kind of want to just leave the wheel be and not hurt it, and just oil the remaining leather strap once or twice again to make sure that it's good. But other than that, next thing is I started making some really cool handmade cards. that were kind of, they were inspired by some that I saw in the local bank. They were made out of construction paper and they had fabric, and then they also had these like cut out vintage like black and white pictures, which were really neat. But I didn't do the picture part, but I just started by like folding some 2 pieces of construction paper over into an even seam, and then hot gluing the 2 pieces together so that they were secure. And then I hot glued some fabric onto the front, and on one I did ribbon and some of these like ribbon flower things, and then on the other one I did some burlap and a button in the middle, and then on the other one I also did a button. And one of them I made a thank you card, and then I also sent one to my friend LaDonna in New Mexico, who just had her birthday, and I sent her a small braid of alpaca roving that I had dyed, and then also some hand-spun merino undyed natural white for her to experiment with her dyeing, because she's an indie dyer. I will link her page on Facebook and her online store in the show notes. Her company is Fistful of Fibers, and she makes a great roving and great yarn. I love her stuff. I need to buy more of it. But anyway, so I sent one with her. It was a happy birthday card. And yeah, so I'm gonna be making more of those, and if people want to buy them, I'll probably offer them in an Etsy store that I want to get set up as soon as I publish my first couple patterns, knitting patterns, and then I can sell like tie-dye shirts and handmade cards and stuff like that in the shop. So that was fun to start doing. A friend of mine gave me some canvases that she got at a yard sale for free, and they have like really, they have these like really kid paintings that somebody didn't want that are on the canvases, so I'm going to paint over them with a layer of tempera paint, either white or black, depending. There's 5 canvases, so whichever I want to do. So that I can paint my own pictures on them, because I'm super happy about that, because I've been out of canvas for a long time, so I haven't been able to paint anything. So that'll be fun to do. Sorry if I'm not enunciating my words super well. I'm talking really fast for some reason. This Saturday, this whole weekend, our cousins were over, and we had a great time. We always have a great time when they come over, and on Saturday we watched The Passion of the Christ, which is always rough and kind of heavy to watch. It's always sad to watch that, but it was very enjoyable. It was much more enjoyable to watch compared to previous watchings. But after that, we went over, me and my brother, James, went over to our youth pastor and his wife's apartment for dinner, and one thing is that I put together some like parcels or like packages for them, and one of them was the cowl that I talked about earlier, the nothingness cowl that I knit. I knit it for her, and so I wrapped that up in some brown paper and string to make it look rustic and kind of like English, because me and her both love everything English and old-fashioned. And then also I put a little bag together with a crocheted dishcloth made out of the same yarn that I knit her cowl out of. And then some sets of tea, just like 2 bags of each kind for her and her husband to enjoy and drink, because they both like tea a lot. And other than that, oh yeah, and then I also gave one of my handmade cards in that bag as well. But aside from that, we had a great time. We love them very much. They're so fun to hang out with, and they recently went vegan due to his health. He needed to go vegan because he has heart issues. So Elena, his wife, was experimenting making this vegan dinner, and it was good. And I had the same dinner before, but it was slightly different. Normally, she made like these tacos with they were fried tortillas, and then they had all vegan cheese and some veggie burgers inside with like lettuce and vegan cheese and some hot sauce. And normally they would have guacamole, and that's how I had them. But these didn't have guacamole, and they were good. I enjoyed them. She also made taco soup, which was also very good, but they didn't go as she would have hoped, and so she was really upset that the meal did not go good. So she ended up ordering a pizza for us because she wasn't happy with her food, but it was so fun. Even though there was some complications in the kitchen, I was helping her. She did make this super delicious vegan cheesecake, in the crust, the bottom crust was made entirely out of walnuts and dates. So good. And then the top part, the quote unquote cheese part, was made entirely of whipped up cashews, and it had lemon in it. Oh, it was so good. And then she put coconut oil in it, which kind of probably helped with the stickiness, to keep it all together. And then on top she put this coconut whipped cream, vegan whipped cream stuff ish. It's so hard to describe vegan food. But it was like a whipped cream substitute that she had made. Oh, that was really good. I love that. Anyway, it was super fun to go over there and have a nice evening, and we watched this hilarious show. It's a British show, and it's called Come Fly With Me, and it was a temporary project that they did, and it's the British equivalent of the show Portlandia, where it's the same two actors, but they're dressing up as all of these different people, both men and women characters, so it's super diverse and just so hilarious. They're all British, but it goes anywhere from couples to two Asian girls that are obsessed with Martin Clune, who plays Doc Martin on the British show Doc Martin. It was so hilarious. Yeah, definitely watching that show over and over again, even though there's only 6 episodes. So it was an overall really good time. And yeah, next, I did not tell you, but I entered into a poetry slam hosted by my local library, and I entered an original poem called The Hooves into the under 16 category, and I won, and I was super happy, and I had so many people from our church came to support me, and some other youth students who were also performing, and so yeah, I won that. First, it was the first and only place in that category, and a little bit of money that I don't know what I'm probably going to get a poetry book with it, but I don't know. I might raid the Fat Squirrel's shop for one of her project bags, but nevertheless, I won, so I just wanted to share that with you. Super happy. For those of you who do not know, I am an amateur poet. You can like my writer's page and see all my poetry. It is Frank E. George IV for the 4th, and I'll link that in the show notes. If you would be so willing to like it, I would be appreciative, as it fuels my intellectualness. Everyone who reads my stuff is the inspiration of all of my work, and everyone who reads just sort of like really keeps me going and inspires me. Last thing, and then I have to wrap it up because this is going to be a super long show, like 40 minutes long, is this weekend my youth group is having an Avengers all-nighter. So apparently we're going to stay up late, all night that is, and watch all of the movies leading up to the Avengers. So the Iron Mans, the Hulk, the Captain America, the first one, and Thor. And because that's so what I need right now while I'm juggling like 2 extra classes, 6 in total, and trying to keep up with that, because that's so what I need is one whole night of not sleeping. But it'll be fun, and I will not be staying up that late. I'm sleeping, because I have homework on Saturday. So that's it. All that jazz segment was the longest I've ever had. There was just so much going on, and so I will bid you adieu for this week, and I will talk to you next week. Please, if you're listening on YouTube, you can find the show notes on the blog, thelengthyyarn.weebly.com, and like the page on Facebook. All are linked on the website. Thanks and happy knitting. Bye.